To our panelists, I want to thank you once again for agreeing to do this. We have collected some supplies downstairs. They will be distributed to people as needed. I want to thank everyone who came out today in support of doing and learning more about human trafficking and how we can fight this good fight. This is a good fight. When I got elected district attorney, I promised the people of Brooklyn that I would drive down violent crime and I would focus the resources and energy of the DA's office to protect vulnerable populations. This is what I was talking about. So thank all of you for coming out tonight, and I look forward to an engaging and learning experience. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. There have already been a lot of thank yous, but I want to add a few more. So my name is Anita Tika. I'm the Senior Director of the Anti-Trafficking Program at Safe Horizon, which is the co-lead service provider for the Brooklyn Human Trafficking Task Force. And we really pride ourselves on being as collaborative as humanly possible. And in this room, I see service providers that we have worked with, other government agencies, other law enforcement agencies, and know that this task force would not be half as effective if all of you were not a part of it. When we're talking about human trafficking being closer than you think, we're talking about all of you who are on the front lines of identifying potential cases of human trafficking. We're talking about medical providers, shelter providers, we're talking about business owners and the general public and a plethora of other people in between. And so we know that we have that combination of folks in this room, and so I hope you're able to take a lot away from this program and know that you really are partners with us on the front lines to prevent and to combat human trafficking. So as I mentioned, I'm with Safe Horizon, the nation's leading service provider to victims of crime and abuse, and we work with over 250,000 people each year. We serve individuals who've been victimized in a number of different ways, including through domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, and human trafficking. Ariel Zwang has been our CEO since 2008, and with that, I would like to introduce Ariel to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Anita, and for all of your leadership tonight and every day in the critical fight against human trafficking. Safe Horizon's Human Trafficking Program has partnered with the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District for the last 8 years as the service provider and the co-lead of the Brooklyn Human Trafficking Task Force. And it's an honor to work in collaboration with so many dedicated expert professionals who are here to help those who are in the worst predicament we can imagine, not imagine, that we know. And it's just very, very good to be here together with everyone for Human Trafficking Awareness Month. As Anita mentioned, we at Safe Horizon work with victims of all crime and abuse. Our anti-trafficking program is about 20 years old, and we've worked with 1,000 survivors of anti-trafficking since the beginning of that time. And that includes both sex and labor trafficking, and I really want to thank the DA because sometimes people think and talk about the heinous, terrible situation of sex trafficking, and the heinous, terrible situation of labor trafficking is here all around us as well. And often it doesn't get the same recognition, and it is just as dehumanizing and debasing, and it should. Safe Horizon knows that what is needed when a person finds themselves in this terrible predicament is a range of interventions that the survivor leads. And that is why we want everyone here to know, and Anita, thank you for pointing out that people in this room may be in a position to recognize others who are in a traffic situation or may themselves be in a traffic situation, and what we want you to know is that help is available. It's available through law enforcement, and it's available through service providers like Safe Horizon that are independent of law enforcement, although we collaborate very proudly together. And we engage in community outreach, professional training with partner organizations and allies to increase knowledge and awareness, and to reach all types of victims wherever they may be. And this is crucial, to offer critical services that increase the economic choices of victims of trafficking, the housing options of victims of trafficking, their ability to be employed. These are the basic elements of human dignity and human need that we work together to provide and that are necessary for someone to have a situation that's different than the situation that they have now. And that's one reason that we're also very proud to support and be supported by our very wonderful Voices of Hope organization, which is our survivor leadership group. And we met briefly Beverly, but we'll look forward to hearing in a little while from Beverly, who's a member of the Voices of Hope organization. Who work together to get the word out and also to advocate for change. And I ask you to consider what it must take for someone who's come through such a terrible situation to get up in front of people that you don't know, who nevertheless care very much. And I just want to say how much gratitude I have to you, Beverly, and to all of our survivors who will speak tonight for the generosity of sharing with us what your experience has been. Human trafficking is present in every industry, and it's possible that every single person here tonight has interacted in their lifetime, unknowing, with a victim of human trafficking. And my hope is that as a result of our program tonight, we may be more knowing and more aware and more present with resources and responses. Victims have no single profile, and neither do the traffickers, and neither do those who help those victims either. So showcasing the importance of collaboration, which is the core of this task force's work, Safe Horizon has a 40-year history of working closely with partners, including other social service providers, federal, state, and local agencies, legislators, law enforcement partners, and we know the importance of working together to support clients who, in particular case of trafficking, have a wide variety of complex needs. So tonight we come together in a shared partnership to further our collective work together. Thank you for being here. I can't wait to hear from our experts, and I will now turn it over to Lauren.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming. My name is Lauren Fry, and I'm the Brooklyn Human Trafficking Task Force Coordinator. First, I'd like to thank District Attorney Eric Gonzalez and CEO of Safe Horizon, Ariel Zwang, for your moving and informative remarks. The task force is honored to have leaders like both of you who set an example and stand for justice. Tonight, you will hear from experts who bring perspectives and experiences from different disciplines. Taken as a whole, our panelists provide a comprehensive representation of the anti-trafficking movement, including government organizations, law enforcement, service providers, and survivors. We are grateful to them for their time and expertise. As we honor Human Trafficking Awareness Month, this panel is a reminder that we, as anti-trafficking advocates, are most effective when we work together collaboratively. Given the serious nature of the topic of human trafficking, if you hear information or stories that you find disturbing, please feel free to leave the room and take a break at any moment and rejoin us when you're ready. Although our discussion is unscripted, we will be using certain terms that I want to define before moving forward. First, human trafficking. Human trafficking is broadly defined as the use of force, fraud, or coercion to recruit, transport, harbor, or receive persons for the purpose of commercial sexual exploitation, which includes prostitution, or labor of any kind. In the task force brochure in your folder, there is a graphic that depicts the concept of process ends means in more detail. Second, for the purpose of the panel, the term victim and survivor will be used interchangeably. Generally, the term victim refers to an individual who is currently involved in a trafficking situation, while the term survivor refers to an individual who has exited that situation. Tonight's theme is Human Trafficking is Closer Than You Think. As District Attorney Gonzalez mentioned earlier, we will focus on 2 points of view. First, from the victim, we will highlight the dynamics of relationship closeness between victims and traffickers. Second, from the community perspective, in that human trafficking is close in proximity and is in our neighborhoods. The panelists will only touch on a small piece of a very complicated topic, so keep in mind we can't possibly cover everything tonight, let alone in 1 hour. Without further ado, I would like each panelist to introduce themselves by explaining how their associated organization addresses trafficking. First, we will start with Estelle Davis.
Hi. So I work with the New York State Department of Labor, and I have 3 questions for you. The first one is, do you know what the current New York City minimum wage is? 15. All right, that's good. All right, the second one is, do you know that if you don't get paid for all of your hours that you worked, or you don't get paid overtime when you work 40 hours in a week, or your boss steals your tips, or any other labor pay-related issues, you can file a complaint with the Department of Labor, and we will investigate and collect those owed wages and return them to you. We get about 7,000 cases a year, and last year we were able to return 3.5 million to workers. And then the last one, and this is really for law enforcement, the Department of Labor has the authority to enter and inspect any business with employees. We can request payroll records going back 6 years, and we can interview any workers that are present to make sure that they're in compliance with labor law. Thank you.
Sergeant Graves.
Good evening, Sergeant Greg Graves from the NYPD Vice Enforcement Division. Thank you very much for coming out. Vice Enforcement Division, we're the primary investigative arm within the City of New York, and within the Vice Division we handle the bulk, if not all of the complaints of human trafficking. We have a citywide human trafficking team, as well as 2 federal task force, one with our Homeland Security and one with the FBI, that spreads us out pretty well, covering a lot of the bases. And we have a great partnership with our non-governmental organizations, as well as our prosecutors. And again, thank you for everybody for coming out.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Coral Ann Griffith-Hunt, and I am a human industrial and trauma psychologist. I am the acting executive director for Not On My Watch, and I'm senior advisor to members of the Senate, Congress, and the New York State Assembly. In the capacity of Not On My Watch, my role is one that is an educator, not just a trauma psychologist, but to educate and train our community members and our legislators that trauma is a real thing. And that we all, at some level, have experienced trauma. And that trauma has no expiration date. That if you don't cater to the trauma, guess what? Trauma sits next to you on the train. It's at the job. It's sitting next to you in your mosque, in your church. It's sitting in your schools. And so it's about educating about trauma. And then there is this thing that people are now seeming to try to understand, this human trafficking, right? And to acknowledge that, you mean it's not just happening in Cambodia? No, it's happening right here. Human trafficking sits next to you, on the train, in your church, at your schools. So that's why it's so wonderful that that's the topic. It's closer than you think, because Not On My Watch, what we do is we've been advocating for that for years. We've been saying, guess what? It's not over there, it's right here, and we need to do something about it. And so it's about that advocacy, legislation, and making sure that individuals who may consider themselves as either survivors or thrivers get all the services and all the resources that they need. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Gabrielle Prieto, and I am the Director of Human Relations at Not On My Watch. We work and partner with the top leading nonprofits in the state. We cannot do this without partnership. What we do at Not on My Watch is provide trainings to the public so that you can go back to your communities and have the tools and resources to help us. There are over 4.7 million people enslaved. As you heard earlier, one nonprofit saved about 1,000 people. We've saved about 500. Sanctuary has done about 5,000. That doesn't do a dent in 4.7 million. We need the public. This is about the buyer, the money, and the power. But we are the people. And we're here tonight to ask you to join us in this fight to bring out the ones who have not made it and who are still silenced. Thank you.
My name is Beverly Smith. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica. I'm a mother of 3 girls, 3 beautiful girls, and I just recently became a grandmother. Any Caribbean people in here? No?
Woo-woo.
Yeah, okay. I need some.
Amen.
I'm so nervous right now. I'm a survivor of labor trafficking. I came here for a better life. Most Jamaicans know the story. You come here, you come for work. But guess what? It wasn't as green as I thought it was. In winter, I used to wear slippers, and that is really, really not funny. That was really, really rough. I had it very hard. And I know I'm a survivor, and I made it. When I came to Safe Horizon, I cried out for help. I was a hot mess. I came there twice. The third time, I called Andrea Hughes, and I said, Andrea, I cannot come. And she said, where are you? And I told her I'm downstairs. And would you believe it, that lady came and she met me. She was so compassionate towards me and my feelings. And I said to myself, this lady is so genuine, because just how she hugged me, and
Our service providers are like this. So they are trained, and the way that they treat them is good. That's right.
I said to myself, this lady not going to call immigration on me, although she looked down on my slippers. And we had a good laugh. I spoke with Amy Sugar. That lady is like a sister from another mother. That lady cries with me. Every time I start bawling, because you know I'm a crybaby, she would say, okay, and she'd start something funny, and then we would start laugh. Amy, I don't know how to thank you. Safe Horizon advocated for me. I had sleepless nights. I wasn't able to sleep at night because of my situation. And I wasn't able to relay and talk about my problems because I was so scared. Again, immigration, I had no papers. But they worked with me, no matter what. I could call Amy and Andrea any time of the night. Anytime I could call them, not their house though, the office phone, and I would chat for hours on the office phone. And guess what? First thing in the morning, they would call me back and say, Bev, what's the matter? They treated me like family. I was like a family to them. My mentor, Andy, Miss Tika. Oh, by the way, his name is not Andy. His name is Brian Ashton. My lawyers, recovery, case management, counseling, my legal services, domestic violence law projects. Safe Horizon opened doors for me. They gave me the right breaks for me and my daughter. Thanks for helping me through my life's journey. I don't know where I would be without the team. Then I was introduced to people like me, who has been in the same situation. We are survivors. We have hope in the future. We now have voices. We are the voices of hope. I am a proud member of Voices of Hope. I am a proud member. When I first met with the group, I asked myself, why is everybody so happy? They was laughing and I would say, oh, they're happy. There was a lot of hugs to go around. Food, good food, Renee, Stephanie, you know what I'm talking about.